And a good Monday evening. Welcome into Time Out here on TVNB. The Flames' losing ways continue. Miami Dolphins are moving on in the NFL playoffs, and a look back at the year in sports for 1998. All that and a whole lot more coming up. Stay right there. And a very good Monday evening. Welcome into Time Out here on TVNB. Jim Hennessy along with Barry Johnston after a 2-week holiday hiatus. Certainly hope Santa Claus was good to you, my friend.
Yeah, and the cooking was pretty good too, I guess.
I bet you it was. And we hope you and your family had a great holiday season as well. Let's jump right into it. Of course, St. John Flames off to a brutal ending to 98, and it looks like they're off to a brutal start in 99 as well. Just can't seem to get things going. Shutout back-to-back games. New Year's Day they were shutouted at home, then shutouted at home again on Saturday night. For weeks heading into the Christmas break, it was goaltending, goaltending, goaltending. Now all of a sudden it seems can't put the puck in the net, can't put the puck in the net. What's going on with this team?
I really don't know. I don't know if it's the need of a coaching change or if Vive's style is not suiting to the way the players want to play or what the story is there, but it seems like now with Calgary picking up Trefilov, there may be some goaltending help coming down anyway in the way of either Moss or Giguère. And it probably will be Giguère, but the way Trefilov's playing, they may send him down for a 2-week conditioning stint or something.
Well, how big of a shock was that to Calgary Flames fans, especially St. John Flames fans, where Trefilov played 3 seasons here in the Port City? All of a sudden, you're watching the ticker. I was watching Headline Sports. All of a sudden, it says Calgary picks up Andrei Trefilov, and I double-taked because I thought, wait a minute, that can't be right. Then all of a sudden, he's between the pipes. The word out of Calgary is that Kenny Reggett is on the mend very slowly, to the disappointment of the St. John Flame fans and the Calgary fans. Trefilov will get the weight of the work. Reggett will back him up. So it looks like Tyler Moss, Jean Giguère, I always trip over that. He got rid of the Sebastian. So it looks like those two gentlemen could be back here in St. John, which is welcome news to the Calgary Flame fans down here.
Well, I would say so, but how's Tyler Moss going to take this now? He's going to be a disgruntled goaltender, figuring he had either a starting job or a very good backup position in Calgary.
No question.
All of a sudden now he's going to be sent back down to the minors, but I don't know. I don't know if Trefilov, coming out of the eye and playing, if he was in game shape for the NHL or not. I think maybe he should have came to the St. John for a little bit of conditioning, but Calgary was just willing to throw anything in there and see if it would work, and it so far hasn't worked.
Well, desperate times call for desperate measures. I mean, Giguère got hurt, Moss got hurt, Reggett's been hurt for the past month and a half now. All of a sudden, what were they going to do? I mean, they get stuck in a situation where, Trefilov's name, I'm sure, was shuffled across a boardroom table somewhere. Hey, this guy used to play for us for our organization, not a bad kid. Let's bring him up and get him back in between the pipes. I mean, they needed someone. They were desperate.
Yeah, definitely. But with St. John, they got to get some goal scoring right now. I mean, Don McKelly's not doing any scoring, and you get guys like Eric Healy and Petrovicki that are starting to put the puck in the net every once in a while, obviously, because they only have 2 or 3 goals in the last half a dozen games.
That's it.
And the last game that I did see was the December 19th game up in Fredericton, and Cooper, the previous night before that, was a -8 or a -7. He was on the ice for all of the goals that were scored against them, and you could see why he was a minus, because he gave up the puck in their zone so many times and in the neutral zone. It was just unbelievable. So
just brutal.
He needs some conditioning himself, I think. And where are you going to send him to get conditioned? I mean, this is where you're supposed to get conditioned.
That's it.
So I don't know. They just can't get the puck in the net, and then when they do get the puck in the net, it seems like the other team is scoring a lot of goals to go with it, like a 7-6 game or a 6-5 game. So.
Sure.
And they usually come out on the losing end of it, which is unfortunate. But it's the game of hockey. Maybe things will turn around eventually if they do get some goaltending. Maybe they just don't feel confident back there. I mean, the same thing happened with the fan-favorite goaltender a few years ago.
Oh, Mazzotti.
Yeah, Mazzotti, but the other fella, Ian Gordon.
Ian Gordon.
I mean, they just didn't play when he was in the net. And then whenever Rolson went in, gee, it's just like night and day. They started putting the puck in the net. And
came alive.
So maybe that's what they need. They want a goaltender back there to quarterback everything.
Is there any light at the end of this tunnel? I mean,
it's very faint, I think.
It's early to push the panic button. I mean, we haven't even hit the All-Star break yet, but when you think about it, you look at this team, the start that they got out under when the season kicked off, got off to a good start, goaltending was there. Now all of a sudden they've had to shuffle things up a little bit, and it looks like they're still trying to get over Giguère not being there, a couple other big names, you know, not being on the forward line or on the blue line, and now all of a sudden it looks like they've got to do some major regrouping. Is there any light at the end of this tunnel?
Well, I think it's very dim right now. It's very faint right now, and guys like Chris Dingman and stuff, they're non-existent. You never hear tell of them, it seems like. You know, they're on the ice, but you just don't hear of anything. A big boy like that should be throwing the body around, and he threw a good checkup in Fredericton and sent Terry Ryan to the dressing room early in the first period, so obviously if he can stay healthy and throw the body, you know, that guy should be out crashing and banging and creating some turnovers or something in the neutral zone or in the offensive zone, because, you know, and same with guys like Rocky Thompson. I mean, you know, Rocky can't be taking cheap shots and things like that. So
got to play smart hockey.
Yeah, right now.
It's good to play tough hockey. There's no question about that with a guy like Thompson and Digman with the size and the intimidation factor with Thompson. But when you're losing and the streak continues, you've got to start playing some smart hockey. Throw the hits, you know, bang and crash, but you can't take stupid penalties either.
But they're not doing the little things, and the little things will create into big things. But right now they're trying to make the big things first, and you got to crawl before you walk and walk before you run. So right now they're walking to running. They haven't started crawling yet. So
Rick Vive and Jeff Perry have their work cut out for them. There's no question about that. Let's jump over to the NHL. Any big surprises? I mean, we rounded up the Christmas holiday break here. The Ottawa Senators seem to be playing extremely well. Damian Rhodes is just playing like a house on fire between the pipes for them. Let's just go down the Canadian teams here. We'll start with Ottawa. They look pretty good so far. Ottawa
is a house on fire is the only way to explain it. I mean, they're on a tear right now, and pretty well, except for Vancouver, everybody's doing quite well. I mean, Montreal stepped up their game. You know, they're on a winning streak. They won last night.
Four-game winning streak for my Habs.
Well, don't get too excited now.
Well, I'm excited. Hey, any kind of streak besides a losing streak for Montreal has been good news.
Well, I heard you rooting for the Leafs there for a little while, because I mean, because you were just wanting a winning team. So, hey. But the Leafs are playing excellent hockey. I mean, you know, Edmonton's playing not too bad.
Off to a good start.
Vancouver is the weak link in the Canadian hockey teams right now, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know what's going to happen with Mike Keenan. I mean, he's got a great rookie there, and McCall. I mean, he's leading all rookie scorers right now. He's having a great season right now.
Bringing back Harry York looks like a brilliant move right now.
Well, he scored a few goals, yeah. And Mark Messier now, he's a little, you know, he's scared to kind of go into the corners, get banged around because of the concussion syndrome, which is plaguing the NHL again, it seems.
No question.
And I don't know. If I was a bet man, I'd have to go with Ottawa and Toronto right now on my two Canadian teams, and maybe the Montreal Canadiens are going to pick things up a little bit more, but it seems like Ottawa is the big offensive team right now.
No question about that. Let's get back to the Leafs just for a minute. Of course, the Leafs will be moving out of MLG in the next month or so, moving to the brand new Air Canada Centre, and if you're a historic buff, hockey-wise, this is the last of the old great barns in the NHL. They're not closing it down. It's not targeted for demolition or anything like that. But I've talked to a few Leaf fans that are a little torn. I mean, yeah, it's always good to move into a new building. It's a brand new facility. It's gorgeous. But I think there's a few people, like Gretzky played his last game in MLG a couple of weeks ago, and he was very sentimental about it. And I can see why. It's a great historic old barn, and a lot of people are going to miss it, no question.
Well, it's like the old Forum. I mean, I'm kind of glad to see that they're not going to tear it down at least, and sell every seat in the place for, you know, $100 a seat, or sell the old banners that, you know, they won Stanley Cups with.
Exactly.
I thought that was just brutal by Montreal's part. You know, well, we'll just, you know, reproduce some new ones and hang them up. Those banners, I mean, that's history itself right there. I mean, I don't know why they did such a thing, but it's nice to see Toronto doing such a thing. I think to keep the building there and maybe make it some sort of a, I don't know, maybe a venue for concerts or something. Exactly. I don't know, but. Yeah. But it's a great spot, and a lot of hockey players are going to have a lot of fond memories coming out of there. Some good, some bad. You know, some good times and bad times.
No question.
I've never been in Maple Leaf Gardens. I wish I had been, but come February, it's going to be no more hockey in there, professional hockey anyway.
I had the pleasure of being at Maple Leaf Gardens. I think it was 3, maybe 4 years ago. Pat Burns was still coaching the team, and they got hammered by Dallas 5-1. But it was something to walk in the front lobby and see all the old pictures, Frank Mahovlich and all the boys hanging on the wall, and the Stanley Cup banners hanging from the roof, and you know, it was just it was an atmosphere like the Forum, like the old Chicago Stadium the Blackhawks used to play out of, and original 6 teams. And you know, Toronto fans have gone through a lot of tough times over the years, losing, but they always came and supported the team, and it looks like they're getting some redemption this year, no question about that.
Well, I don't know if it's excitement of going into the new rink or what, but they're really playing quite well, and with Curtis Joseph and net. You know, they're playing really, really well. I mean, they lost last night to Washington, but hey, you know, you're going to lose. You got to lose a few to win a few. So
no question. Pat Quinn's got that team, and Kenny Dryden's got that team running on all cylinders. We're coming right back. We hope you stick around. We've got more to talk about. We've got the sports year in review for '98. We're going to look back at some of the highlights, some of the lowlights, so we hope you don't go too far.
I'm late! You must have been a beautiful ducky.
Events like this auction are one way Ducks Unlimited keeps up the good work. What good work?
Oh! While getting all kinds of people involved in conserving marshlands for wildlife. Naturally.
Ducks Unlimited.
And welcome back into Time Out here on TVNB. Jim Hennessy along with Barry Johnston. Let's stay with the hockey theme here for a moment. Canada at the World Juniors, humiliated last year after 5 straight gold medals. Now they will be going, well, they're into the semifinals tonight. They'll be playing Sweden for a chance to play for the gold medal again. So they've really redeemed themselves. And I mean, that's not an easy task. I mean, when they finished 8th last year, everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon, the boo bandwagon, I should say, and really thought that this thing was going to take 3 or 4 years to rebuild and get back on track. But they've been playing well. A couple of games they slipped so far in the tournament, looked a little shaky, but goaltending has been outstanding. Goal scoring has been there when they needed it, especially against Kazakhstan over the weekend. You know, can this team go for the gold medal again?
I think they definitely can. The one loss they had was to the U.S., and that was really a hard pill to swallow for Canada. I mean, there's always been a U.S.-Canada rivalry, you know, for years anyway, but that was their weak point, their weak game of the tournament. And that was a good time to have it because they come back and rebounded against Kazakhstan 12-2, and I mean, it was just a shooting gallery for Canada. I mean,
absolutely.
You had numerous different goal scorers, and it was a fun game to watch. I mean, they got to go through their
looked more like a practice for them.
Yeah,
up there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm.
They were just going through the drills and the motions, but I mean, a game like that can either be good or bad. Now, if you're Tom Rennie, you're thinking, okay, the boys went out and put on an offensive show for the crowd, no question about it. 12-2, that's a humiliation to say the least. But defensively, you don't get too much work in a game like that. So Tom Rennie must be a little bit concerned going in against Sweden tonight that the defense didn't get a lot of work in the last game. The offense, of course, got tons of work. So hopefully the offense can stay on track. But he's got to be a little worried about the goaltending because it didn't get much work, and the defense. But Luongo's been playing super. So
well, Luongo is the star of this tournament as far as I'm concerned. He would definitely have to be the MVP of the tournament. Of course, we don't see all the other games either. But
sure.
From all reports, everything seems to point towards Luongo as the goaltender. I mean, last year he backed up sitting on the bench, and he only got limited ice time. But Canada is really rebounded this year with only a small handful of returning players from last year's tournament. And it was kind of a bittersweet revenge, I think, beating Kazakhstan, because last year they got humiliated by Kazakhstan.
That's right.
You know, everybody's wondering, where's Kazakhstan? You know, did they even have hockey there?
Everybody got their globes out the next day looking, saying, oh, okay, there it is right
there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, no, I think Canada, they'll keep their head in it. They know they're coming up to a really important game.
Sure.
It's a big team to play. And with Finland, the returning champions from last year, out of the tournament now, it's... you know, Sweden, I think, will be the dominant team to try and beat.
I think you're right on that one. Let's do a little year in review here. The year of sports that was 1998. We'll stay with hockey. We'll start with the St. John Flames. Of course, this city was Calder Cup crazy come June when the Flames made it to the Calder Cup final against Philadelphia Phantoms, lost in 6 games. Kind of a bittersweet series back and forth. I mean, it got off to a good start, back and forth, tight checking hockey, not a lot of goals scored. The goaltenders got to put on a great show, but it just looked like St. John ran out of steam up against the tough Philadelphia Phantoms club.
I don't think really it was a matter of steam. I think you just looked at Philadelphia's lineup, and they had a team there that could play in the NHL is what they had there. I mean, they had a lot of seasoned veterans there.
No question.
And we had a lot of rookies. I mean, the goaltending was rookie. You know, from the goaltending out, everything was rookie, really.
Sure.
And no, St. John with Philadelphia's lineup, I just really didn't stand a chance. But it was very entertaining hockey. It was good action end to end, and like you say, everybody went Calder Cup crazy in St. John and Philadelphia, and it was great. You know, the local radio station had Kevin Bissett down there, and you know he was walking the streets of Philadelphia. And,
no question.
You know, it was really interesting, and it'd be nice if we could get to that point again this year with another team. You know, and see what happens. But right now, it just doesn't look that way. But I was kind of like the other St. John fans, kind of a little PO'd, I guess, that Bill Stewart kind of packed up his bags and left and said, "Hey, I've done everything I can do here," but he didn't do everything he could do here because he didn't bring a Calder Cup championship. I mean, he got the team to the final, but I think his ego was a little too big, and you know, he shipped off to the Islanders, and hopefully Milbury will step down, and I guess he'll get the head coaching job there. But
I agree with you 100% about that Stewart thing. That was, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you feel right with and you feel comfortable with. But for Stewart to pack up and say, "Well, I've done everything that I can do with this team," it was kind of a play on words when I read that line in the local newspaper, thinking, you know, yeah, okay, you took them to the final, but you didn't win, so you really haven't done everything that you can do. But you can't take anything away from what Coach Stewart did with that team. I mean, he did an amazing job getting them to the Calder Cup final. Let's move on to the AAA Midget Flames. Of course, they made it to the national championship. Ivan Votor and Greg Leland, great job behind the bench. This was a team that when the season started, a lot of people had some question marks about the goaltending, about whether they could put the puck in the net and play with the big boys around Canada, and they certainly put on a heck of a show for all the fans here in St. John.
Well, Adam McNamara, there's the MVP of the midget in Atlantic Canada anyway. He was the one that stood on his head for that team, and without him, they wouldn't have gone anywhere really. But they're starting to come around this year too, so they're sneaking in the back door, and they may be another team to watch again this year. But last year they were the team. They were the, you know, we had two Flames teams that made it to the finals.
Sure.
You know, when you look at the midgets and the AHL Flames. So no, they played a really good hockey last year.
Certainly did a good job and a lot to be proud of, no question about that. Let's flip over to the big leagues. The NHL, Detroit repeats back-to-back Stanley Cups. Stevie Y finally breaks through the year before, and they got him his ring, and then he wins another one. So Hockey Town celebrates back-to-back Stanley Cup victories. And can they do it again this year? That's the big question. The goaltending is there, no question about it. Norm Miracle is a great backup to Chris Osgood, but the Wings are hot and then they're cold. They're sputtering a little bit. They can't seem to get on that consistent roll so far this year, but when the All-Star break rolls around, I mean, they're still playing good hockey. There's no question about that, but can this team three-peat? Is this a dynasty?
I don't know if they can three-peat or not. They don't seem to be able to have it this year. I think we're going to maybe for the first time in a while see a Canadian team maybe near the final of the Stanley Cup. But the Red Wings, I think last year were driven by the little stall in the dressing room that used to be Konstantinov's, and I think that's where they were driven by. I think that that was the inspiration to play and you know, get another cup because of what had happened there.
Sure. So a tribute to their injured teammates in that horrific automobile accident that took place the day after they captured their first Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
So it was a fitting tribute, no question.
Well,
about
it was
that.
kind of sad because, you know, they always preach, you know, get a sober driver, take a cab or whatever. Here they rent a limo and figured they were doing the right thing. And,
Exactly.
You know, instead of going out drinking and driving and whatnot, but hey.
Tragic accident.
Yeah, terrible.
And things happen, unfortunately, like that, and a tragic accident, but I think the whole hockey world was, you know, to see him wheeled out on the ice in the wheelchair and hoist up the Stanley Cup, and they put it in his lap, put the ball cap on his head, you know, 98 Stanley Cup champions. A fitting tribute, no question about that. Let's jump over to the Ball Diamond, of course, in the big leagues, New York Yankees. Some are quoting the greatest team of all time. They sweep the World Series against the Padres. They just look fantastic all the way around.
Well, from their pitching staff and up, there wasn't a flaw there at all.
Loaded.
I mean, loaded is the only word to describe it. I mean, they opened up the vault to get that team together, and I think they were kind of hoping maybe for another couple of games in New York, at least one anyway, to get some gate receipts there to help pay those monstrous salaries that they're paying these guys. But the Yankees last year, right from the get-go, they were the team to win the World Series last year.
No question. Let's jump back to January. I hate to flip-flop months here, but let's jump back to the Super Bowl back in January. Denver Broncos against the Green Bay Packers. Not too many people were giving Denver too much of a chance. A lot of talk was John Elway. Is this the year he finally breaks through? Terrell Davis just simply playing outstanding. Sharp playing for the Broncos as well. And a good, hard-fought back-and-forth game. Brett Favre, in my opinion, looked a little off the entire game. Broncos come through. They win their first Super Bowl. John Elway takes home the ring. You know, it was just a fitting tribute to a guy who's been simply outstanding in the numbers category, second to only Dan Marino in quite a few of the categories. He takes home his first Super Bowl.
Well, it's nice when the underdog quarterback can prove all the critics wrong and say, hey, look, I can do it. You guys, you know, couch potatoes there don't know really what you're talking about.
Sure.
You know, so. But I mean, Brett Favre was the favorite, obviously, in the Green Bay Packers. But it was nice to see Elway get a ring. I mean, I just don't know what else more you can say about it. It was just really nice to see him get that ring and prove the critics wrong.
And it was good to see a Super Bowl, not a total blowout, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lopsided victory. You were stuck. You were glued right to the TV the whole 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Let's stay with football from over the weekend. We had a couple of playoff games. Unfortunately, it kills me to have to say this, but the Miami Dolphins defeated the Buffalo Bills 24-17 at Pro Players Stadium in Miami. I think the big thing was 2 things. Turnovers really hurt Buffalo. They gave up 5 in the game. And the second one, and I know this sounds like I'm whining, but it's a stated fact, the officiating, a couple of the calls late in the game killed the Bills' drive and killed their chances of maybe tying this game up.
Well, if you listen to any of the sports talk shows in the U.S. on some of the AM channels, they are ridiculing the officials in the NFL. It's just they're terrible. I mean, they're getting too old. A lot of them have a hard time buttoning their pants and putting a belt around it. I mean, let's face it. I mean, you see these guys run up and down the field; they can't keep up with the play.
The thing that kills me is what has the headline been for the last, let's say, 3, maybe 4 weeks of the regular season in the NFL. It hasn't been Redskins, you know, win again, or the Cowboys are still slumping. It's been, once again, the officials make the outcome of a game. That's been the headline.
We could do another whole show, actually, on the officiating of the NFL, but
no question.
near the last play of the game, when they called back and they said that he wasn't in for the touchdown.
Andre Reed dove in, yeah.
Yeah, and then he got up and bumped the official, and he says, well, I didn't bump the official. I just got up and I kind of lost my balance and I went into him, and yada, yada, yada. But, you know, that's what really the straw that broke the camel's back. They may have come out of that with a win yesterday.
Sure.
On Saturday, sorry. And but you know, Doug Flutie, he just, with the Buffalo Bills, I mean, he had
a great year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take anything away from Flutie. I mean, here's a guy who was you know, given $500,000, was supposed to be just a backup quarterback. Johnson goes down, he gets hurt, Flutie comes in, and he carries that magic that he had for years in the CFL over to the NFL, sparks new life into a team that instead of finishing 10-6, were predicted to finish maybe 6-10.
Yeah.
They're in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah, they lose a heartbreaker yesterday, but Bills fans like myself certainly can't be disappointed. A good showing this year, and you know, what more can you say about Doug Flutie? I mean, Flutie Flakes come alive. He brings new life into a football team that, you know, was pretty much dead, you know, spirit-wise. Since Jim Kelly retired, Thurman Thomas getting older, Bruce Smith, he was almost non-existent. You didn't hear anything about him in the game yesterday. So anyway, let's move on to a happier story. Arizona Cardinals, they played in a game yesterday as well. Total underdogs going into this one. The pro line odds were just totally out of whack for them to win this game, and they come out and do it. They upset the Cowboys in Dallas, 27. Arizona wins its first NFL playoff game in 51 years. So you know the party is still going on down in Arizona somewhere.
Well, even to win that game, that's a big victory for them. That's like winning the Super Bowl for them right now. So, I mean, even to go into the semifinal, I mean, I won't say they don't care, but they're just saying, I'm glad we're there. And what more can you say, really? I mean, 51 years, that's a long time. And the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, Emmitt Smith, I mean, there's a team that's aging quite a lot, too.
Big time. Michael Irvin.
Yeah, they're going to have to get some... they're going to have to get their differences in the front office turmoil under control and get things underway. But speaking of front office turmoil, I'd like to bring up something about the Pittsburgh Penguins. I heard yesterday on Sports Desk Extra that the players are having to buy their own equipment, i.e. sticks, tape, and things like that.
I didn't hear about that.
And the distributors are not leaving it there on credit. They have to have cash at the door when they bring the delivery.
You've got to be kidding.
So that's how much trouble that team's in right now.
COD.
Yeah, they're paying the salaries, but that's about it. And the travel, they're getting them from place to place. But,
That's wicked.
Looks like the great, magnificent Mario may be owning a hockey team.
Well, I mean, they always talk about all the Canadian teams, how much financial trouble they're in every year. I mean, it's been an ongoing saga for the past 4 or 5 years. When the season starts off, it's not, well, who have they got in the lineup? It's, are they going to be able to afford to stay in the league? And now all of a sudden it seems to be leaking a little bit down into the great old US of A with the Pittsburgh Penguins in this situation. Harold Baldwin has certainly made a mess of this franchise, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Anyway, we get back to football. One more local note to make note of, and I had to chuckle when I saw this, and I know you were laughing about it because we talked about it earlier this week. The CFL could be coming to St. John. You know, the rumor has it that they're putting a bid in to bring Canadian football here out to the Canada Games Stadium. What do you make of this whole thing?
Well, I don't know if it's air first or what, but...
Be honest with me now. Go ahead.
Well, it'd be nice, but I mean, we can't get 5,000 people in for a hockey game in a heated rink. We're not going to get 10, 15,000 out to a cold stadium and sit there and shiver to death to watch CFL hockey or CFL football. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Canada Games the stadium, it's an ideal spot. I mean, it's out of the way. It's not downtown. Won't congest up traffic or anything like that. But
parking could be a problem.
It could be a bit of a problem there, yeah. But I mean, UNB's laughing, saying, "Yeah, bring it in. You know, upgrade our stadium. We don't
why
care."
Not? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like the CFL. I mean, I enjoy the football games. It's compared to the NFL, it's apples and oranges. But that's a whole nother 30 minutes that we'll cover somewhere down the road. But you think about this realistically. It's like it gets back to what you say. We're having a hard time filling the hockey rink. I know that the CFL is a whole different season. It starts in June and rolls through till October. But when you think about it realistically, financially, I just can't see it how. I mean, the capital city of Canada can't afford to have a franchise. Right. So, you know,
I mean... With a lot of working people up there, more than what we have down here.
Exactly. So. A bigger population, a few more higher-paying jobs up there.
Well, they're thinking they can draw from Fredericton, Moncton, you know, Halifax, stuff like that. But, I mean, people aren't going to travel to watch CFL football. I'm really sorry, but... It's a nice idea, but I just don't think it's going to fly.
No question about it. Just a little note here. If you're a basketball fan, the Dave King Memorial Basketball Tourney will be here on TVNB this coming Saturday, January 9th. Mark this one down on your calendar, starting at noon. So don't forget to tune in for the Dave King Memorial Basketball Tourney right here on TVNB this coming Saturday, January 9th, starting at 12 noon. Unfortunately, we're out of time. It's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for dropping by.
Happy New Year.
We'll be, Happy New Year to you, too. Happy New Year to all you, and thank you for tuning in tonight. We'll talk to you again next Monday at 6 o'clock. Have yourself a good week.